I'm Brandon,
And I'm Brandon.
and welcome back to Apollo City Comics, your anything and everything comic book podcast. And dude, we are back with the Man of Miracles. Haha. That's
I
what
gotta
Todd
present him like
McFarlane.
a stage performer, the Man of Miracles.
Dude, that's what Todd McFarlane was calling him when he was putting him in Spawn and whatnot. The Man of Miracles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And Man of Miracles makes a couple appearances in Spawn. Maybe we'll toss one of those issues in to really cover all of Miracle Man. Get
And
the
to
Todd
get your Spawn
McFarlane
fix.
stuff and get some Spawn fix. We haven't covered Spawn on the show at
No,
all,
we haven't.
except for the movie, which is fucking great. Go
Hey,
go
man.
listen to that commentary and watch that movie, everyone. It's fucking phenomenal. That movie's
Fantastic
dope.
90s film.
Yes, except for those PS1 graphics with Malbolgia.
Oh, God, yeah.
So fucking bad. Anyways, we're not doing anything with Todd McFarlane's Miracle Man today. Instead, we are on issue number 2 of which is so weird. So continuity with printing wise, this gets really confusing. We mentioned it last episode. And we're gonna break it down here real quickly. Because again, there is miscommunication with Brandon and I being like, what are we reading? Like, Brandon's asking me one thing and I'm giving him an answer, but the answer that I'm giving him doesn't exist on his copy. And the question he's asking me didn't exist, or maybe it existed differently on my copy, and it was just a whole mess. So what we have, if you're watching this on screen, is a scan of right here, Miracle Man number 2. And this is the Eclipse Comics printing that came after Warrior Magazine. This was first printed in Warrior Magazine, and then the Eclipse Comics printing came out, and then Marvel reprinted it in single issues, and then Marvel collected those single issues into this hardcover. So I have a copy of the Eclipse printing, which is the old coloring, might I add, and Brandon has the single issues from Marvel Comics reprints, and then I have the hardcover issues, and the Marvel reprints that we have in our hands have a remastered coloring, and the remastered coloring, it's still kind of a toss up. It's way better for sure, but there's some moments that just like certain panels, that coloring, the difference in colors of what they do really works better in this original, and I can't wait for you to see that.
Yeah, it's kind of like situational paneling. Like one panel may look horrible, or not horrible, but the coloring looks a little off in Eclipse, and then when you look at the Marvel reprint, it makes sense, and then vice versa. It's just there's too many to like point out it to a point where like it's just inconsistencies across the board, where some are better than the others, some are worse.
It's not like Swamp Thing, where I just felt the original was like better. Just 100%.
They butchered Swamp Thing reprinting it. But.
Yeah, that's like the only one that I really think was really bad. Not bad, but just like preference, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
for sure, an agreed preference. But so we ended issue 1 with young Miracle Man being exposed, and how could we even be like, dude, we're blasting through this like already. We're already jumping into it, and you know what? It's probably because I had a nice cup of coffee over from my friend at Coffee and a Comic, and that just got me so pumped and energized. I was just like ready to like dive into this without telling you guys. You get 15% off your books that are bagged and boarded with coffee included. Get your variants, set up your pull list with Frank, and the thing about it is that you'll always be supplied. And he has the Alex Ross variants. The FOC date, I think, is February like 5th. Maybe this will come out. Yeah, this will be out before then. So if you're listening to this episode right away, go get your Alex Ross variants. Yeah. Damn. No, we're recording early on this one. Should have got your Alex Ross variants. So keep an eye on them and, snag them before they disappear. Those villain variants are sick, dude. Like, I know I'm going to grab like the Galactus one. And
I can't bring myself to do it. I want to wait until like they do that thing where they collect variant covers as like a art book or something.
Oh yeah.
I'd prefer something like that. Like there's something with me. I can't buy variants unless I get the original issue as well, and I don't got money like that.
It's just because I got the hero variants of them. Not all of them. I have a handful. Like there's a handful of them I just have to have, being such a like Alex Ross fan. And I get like 5 or 6, and then I'm settled. And I'm happy with that, but they're just so damn good. But, also, dude, I like caught up on Tom King's whole series because I didn't have a pull list for a bit. I put it on pause for a little while, and I pulled it up, and Frank got me all my books, and now I'm all set to catch up on Batman Year One. So shout out to you, dude. and set up your pull list, guys. Bagged and boarded, coffee included. So you could be energized past your 9 to 5 and, do cool shit like make a podcast like we are. It's all due to Frank.
Some comics.
Coffee and a comic. So, dude, fucking Komoda. Let's fucking jump into this. Dude, this first... Okay, so we were saying left off with young MiracleMan being exposed, and he is ready to fight Michael Moran, a.k.a. MiracleMan. And, dude, this first issue cover is fucking cool. Like, so, so cool.
It's crazy because when looking at this issue, the thing that threw me off is like it feels like it was trying to give off like Death of Superman vibes before Death of Superman.
Yep, I can see that. Yeah, that dude for real.
The cape
all
thing.
Yeah, the cape thing right there. Yeah.
Alan Moore predicting the future. I don't know. Or
straight up, like that's such a cool thing. Like it's the sidekick defeating the main hero on issue 2. And it's like the corporate billionaire suited guy versus the guy having fun in a costume, like
I know,
a lot of cool little things going on here. And it's
evil
so cosmic.
Billionaire.
Yeah, dude, he fucking knew all this stuff like way before all of us. That's why he's a wizard. I don't think you have this page, do you?
I do not know.
I don't have this page in the hardcover either. And this is a cool picture. It's the title page for this story, Dragons. I just think it's dope. I was curious if your single issue had that.
No, I think there's just certain things they leave out when it comes to like reprinting.
It's sad. That's fucked up.
Like old stories. To me, I feel like it's more of to save page count or to for whatever reason it is, they just choose to skip over it. I don't know why.
Dude. Interesting. Okay, so there's already a difference on page 1 versus our reprint. For one, our reprint, this first panel, it says MiracleMan in it. It has a title page. And then it also has a little dragon where panel 4 is. The first like horizontal panel.
Yeah.
Look how different that is. Mine, wait, let me see. That's different. That is insanely different.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They added a panel and they took one out. That's weird. That's insane. What good placement. How convenient, though. You know what I mean? To have that panel to do that.
You wouldn't even notice unless you had them side by side, though. That's the crazy part.
Yeah. I was reading these. I had the one above me, and I was flipping through one, and I was reading one of them, and like just flipping through the other one. And we'll get to it. But right now, Kid MiracleMan is just flashing his powers around, and he goes and he flies up to his assistant. And dude, another big coloring difference, massive coloring difference. He looks like a fucking Green Lantern over here on this one. And in ours, in the Marvel reprints, it looks like fire. It's orange and yellow. It's not any of that, in Brightest Day and Darkest Night stuff. Check that out. Crazy coloring difference. But he just like kills his assistant. It's fucking brutal.
Wasn't it because she like spills the coffee?
Oh, she walked in with coffee, yeah. And
he's like, you dropped the coffee and I melt your face.
Dude, yeah. I love the description. I remember, where is it?
Wait, I think your tablet's not. There we go.
What?
No, nothing. I zoomed in on your face before the tablet.
This line, her name is Stephanie. She likes Adam and the ants. Her boyfriend's name is Brian. She collects Wedgwood. Her insides have turned to water. She is only human. That's the thing about this entire issue I was noticing. This was really Alan Moore being poetic as fuck. Like it's beautiful. The
think
fight
about it.
scene
This
stuff is
this is Homelander before Homelander when you really think about it.
Yeah, 100%, dude, 100%. And it was total inspired, like the look and everything of that Uber Schmuck or whatever the fuck. I don't know the name of it. But like the German version of the Superman. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like that was like an inspiration behind the designs. There's a thing I'm gonna point out. It might be in this PDF. I'm not too sure, but it's a whole letter from Alan Moore, and he kind of talks about it. And there's a couple cool things I could pull out from there. It's crazy. So Michael Moran has now turned into MiracleMan, and he's now fighting young MiracleMan for the first time, and he's just amazed by the power that young MiracleMan has, and he's just like kind of getting fucked up. And even the coloring difference here in this one, the face here, it's way more brutal in the reprint. There's more blood in the reprint, and it looks more gory.
Bruised.
Yeah, more bruised and everything. But this is fucking crazy, dude. Young MiracleMan grabs the kid, tosses the kid, and then MiracleMan flies over to like get it, and he's just like tries to save the child, but he breaks some of the child's ribs, and the lady's like blaming him, just like, you hurt my child, how dare you? And he's like, you just saved your life. Like, yeah, a couple bruised ribs, but like that's the reality.
It also talks about that thing with like superheroes, like Superman, for instance, where like he catches someone midair. No one talks about like the impact of like landing into like a Man of Steel's chest, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just one of those unspoken agreements we have with superheroes and whatnot. You know,
it's totally fine. Nothing snapped.
they grabbed him at the right speed, velocity to add that like softness.
They met them
nice
exactly.
Catch. I would probably just be like, I'd probably get my chest hit and be gasping for air or some shit. You know what I mean? Like,
bash into someone's chest that hard,
dude.
Not to mention being like a small child doing this.
Yes, like, and check out this, like, again with the coloring. This is one of the
different.
You can't even see the buildings behind it. It's one of the only panels where I feel like they added artwork, and not just coloring, but they added artwork to a page. Unless,
like, oh wait.
Unless maybe they had the black and white scan. I don't know how they do the recolorings, to be honest. That's something we need to investigate for a future episode. I don't know if they get the inks and just get to recolor it in general, or they're given these templates. But I feel like it's all so much sharper. It might be the inks.
I could imagine it. This is just basic. This is me just going off of like a hunch, but I feel like they scan, because they usually scan in these documents, right? Mm-hmm. Or scan in these copies. I feel like they scan it in and then like layer it onto like Photoshop and add it through there or something.
Yeah.
I could see that being a thing.
I wonder what the work is behind that and the process. We gotta investigate some of this recoloring stuff. I'm genuinely really curious about it. Well, he saves the kid. The chick is all pissed about it, and then young MiracleMan fucking punches MiracleMan into space. This is the panel, this is the page I'm talking about, where I'm like, I really like the older coloring versus the new. This entire page, I like the older coloring. Just to give viewers on YouTube a quick idea, check that out. Like, it's different. I really like the vibes on this entire page on the classic. I like that green look. It looks very Lovecraftian, really sinister. And we get into a lot of Lovecraft stuff too, actually. So maybe that was a total vibe in general.
Could be,
but
yeah.
This is what I was talking about there. This is creepy, dude. This is insane.
Yeah. The other thing too is in the Marvel reprint, he looks more like Celestial with the coloring they use.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. Okay, so. This is a random thought I just had right now. Last issue, we were talking about how we weren't sure if the prequel, the 1950s vibe prequel, was Gary Leach or not. But the lettering on this, when they land from space, that feels like that same vibe. So maybe it was Gary Leach just kicking ass. I don't know. I could just be speculating. It could just be the lettering on one panel. But I could see that, Dude, this is insane. They're coming back down from space. I love that. Threat, Mach 1. Threat, Mach 2. Mach 3. Threat. Now, like, look at the placement behind that. Like, you could hear the sound, Mach 1. You could hear the sound, Mach 2. And then you're in Mach 3. And then you hear the sound. You know what I mean? That's interesting placement.
The other thing that's interesting about it is that it's one giant complete panel that, when you think about it, in my personal opinion, if I was writing this script, I feel like I would break it into 3 panels. But
right, yeah, right,
yeah. But my take from it is that they're going so fast is that to keep up with the pacing, it's one continuous panel to show like a millisecond of time going by, rather than breaking up every time they change speed.
That's
go
fucking
up
smart.
in Mach
Yes,
speed.
dude. Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, but usually in comics things happen for a reason.
I feel like that's it right there. That I feel like that nails it on the head. That's a brilliant. I mean, that's Alan Moore. You know what I mean? He's playing with time and speed in a singular panel. And you're right. By breaking it up, you have pauses between different Mach speeds. Here, you're just in one continuous. That's how
because they're going so fast.
Yeah. Fucking great. Coloring in the reprint's way better than
the thing is, like, the reprint makes certain parts more clean and obvious. Like, if you look at this scanned in copy, it's like all purple mush. Like, you can't really decipher what's going on there, but when you look at the reprint, you can see that they're like going into a building.
Yeah, exactly.
Same thing with the explosion. The explosion almost reminds me that the Darun, whatever the fuck that noise is.
I know, right?
It looks like those images you would look at and then put on the 3D glasses to make it 3D.
Yeah, it does, huh?
But when you look at
the
reprint,
vibrations on it makes it look like that.
Yeah, and the weird choice of the colors look great still. Like, don't get me wrong, they look cool because there's like a certain vintage and almost like
trippy,
awesome,
psychedelic,
chaotic,
type of thing.
Yeah. But like when you look at the reprint, it's like a clean, all like looks like a typical explosion.
Mm-hmm. Not like a chemical
Yellows
explosion. This looks like a chemical thing, Yeah. And this is the end of chapter 5. Like, and we don't have chapter indications in these Marvel reprints.
No, in the hardcover you don't, right?
No, I don't. Nope.
Yeah, see, okay, I'm not going crazy.
I was like, 100%. I'm curious to see these chapter pages. Okay, so they took out book 1, chapter 6. So
when you when you go to your table of contents in the hardcover, how is it listed?
It is listed as Prologue 1956, Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4, Chapter 5. It's listed as chapters 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. A glimpse into the future, and then the Warp Smiths and behind the scenes.
Okay. So it indicates it as chapters, but
there's no
page
chapters.
Numbers.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't see why they just wouldn't leave chapter 6 then, because you're saying it's chapter 6 anyways. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Also, this is book 1, so I'm wondering if chapters 1 through 5, I assume, were printed through Warrior magazine, and now we are in Eclipse Comics printings, picking it up.
Yeah, the whole thing's a mess, dude.
Yeah. So interesting. This is just a whole thing between. Okay, so fucking MiracleMan is presumed dead at the moment. His Michael Moran's wife is driving off, and young MiracleMan swoops in to stop her and starts threatening her. And this is the part I was like being like, this is poetic as shit. Like, when it's actually the next page. Dude, look at this fucking coloring. This purples and everything. Wow.
It's not purple in the reprint, though.
No, it's like a blue, and you're right, way cleaner lines. You can see buildings and how he's trying to escape death, and here it just looks like he's going through like a dark void.
Yeah, like a dark hole.
And even the boxes for the letterings are different. They're yellow.
What's also crazy when you think about it is that page, this page too, but the next page follows the 9-panel grid.
Oh, okay, we'll check that out right now. But this like panel where he's crawling out, inch by painful inch, the dead man staggers out of the underworld. His body is a symphony of shrieking nerve and muscle. Each step a fugue of agony. Like, dude, a fugue of agony? Dude, what a fucking rad like sentence in general. Like, he's really good at bringing musical composition into like words, and he does that really often throughout his works.
And he's like talking almost like this like poetic third person, or like the silent observer, the omniscient what's it called? Perspective narrator.
Yeah.
I don't know why I couldn't think of that. No, I was saying the page that we're just looking at is the 9-panel grid.
Oh.
It is if you follow it.
Yeah.
It's just like the top 3 are your traditional panels. The middle one, I think that's like supposed to be through the like an eyeball viewpoint. That's what it looks like it's shaped.
Well, yeah, it looks like it's MiracleMan,
like his point of view.
Well, I mean, check that out right there. Whose hand? Oh, it is. He's gripping it. Yeah, he's gripping it like that and reaching forward. So I guess that would be an eye view, which is an interesting point.
If you look at the bottom panel, it's the same size as the 3 up top, but it's just one giant panel. So it's on a technicality, I would say this falls on the 9-panel
And the way you read that one,
But
I mean, it's more like it's right at 8 panels. You know what I mean? Because it's like
yeah,
Bates, and then no, actually, you could stop that at 9. You know, Bates being the word coming out of nowhere, and then you
yeah,
see Miracle Man, and then the third panel would be young
face.
Miracle Man's face looking back. So, at technicality, you could break that down like that.
Early
Um,
glimpses of how he approached Watchmen. That's all I'm saying.
I love, yeah, I can't wait to get more into. We'll cover that one day and talk about him and Dave Gibbons and how they did that. There's some cool stuff with Dave Gibbons on how he talks about constructing Alan's work and his preferences. It's really interesting.
His essays per panel.
Yeah, how he
Yeah.
handled that, and like how he like would digest it and turn it into like the page, and how also Alan addressed the freedom that he gave Dave too. But that's a whole different other discussion. We could go into that later. Um, Dramatically different. So, this one on the reprints, the coloring is a lot brighter. All the hits are very yellow, very gold.
They're
Here we're
consistent.
just consistent. You have like tones going throughout it instead of like almost like single color silk screening that you have going on here. Like an orange panel, a yellow panel, a pink panel with some red, and then like a yellow panel with green borders. You know what I mean?
I took the different colors as almost like it almost feels like with each impact or each hit, it was like a different raw emotion.
Mm-hmm.
So like one punch it's red, another it's yellow. It's these really bright and kind of like almost like intrusive colors that kind of like pop off the page.
I can see that.
At
The
least
art right here, and especially in the reprint more than the original, but it feels very Neil Adamsy with the movements and the
I can
fluidity of
see
some of
that.
this.
Yeah.
Like especially this next page where he's
Oh,
getting punched at the
I
very
was gonna
bottom.
I was gonna point out. Go back real quick.
Oh,
I know this is Alan Moore, but like the part that I was confused, he's like, "We will never know the destiny that howls in their hearts, never know their pain, their love, their almost sexual hatred." I was like, "Wait, like, what does he mean by that?" I was,
yeah, yeah, he gets that. Well, Alan Moore, there's got to be a hint of rape and everything. You know what I mean? Like
I know
just a
he's got to
dabble.
put
Like,
something like in there, and I was like, I remember reading that, I was like, I don't remember reading this the first time, but what was he trying to say?
yeah, what's going on here?
He's just
Yeah,
throwing
no.
that in there.
Um, this is a cool like story way to progress the story. Like everyone's calling like 911, like there's an emergency, like these two figures are fighting, blah blah blah. This person reaches it, this person reaches it, and it's moving up the ladder in the government until it reaches like the people that made the bomb to get rid of fucking Miracle Man and young Miracle Man and Kid Miracle Man back in the day. And meanwhile, I mean, they're still fighting. This entire chapter, they're still going at it. But that's like a revelation that happens. But dude, I think this is one of my favorite pages that we got to read because just like how fast young Miracle Man is moving in these punches. Like these attacks that are going on. It's so swift. It's just a blur. It looks like it's just movement. It's like the Flash and whatnot. And
Well,
it's
when
just
you look at the reprint,
mm-hmm.
well, when you're looking at the original, you kind of just see like these waves, but the reprint had like at least for those two panels in the middle, they look a
Yeah,
little bit more defined in like
like a
their shape.
boot, right? It looks
Yeah.
like boots. And this one you can't tell. It just looks like a blur. Like I can't even tell what's going on. It literally it was hard to really get when I first read it, I feel. Because you just feel like he's just getting hit, but not like kicked. You don't know what direction things are happening. And here, dude, can you tell on this like whatever second row, the pink panel? I couldn't tell that he was getting stomped on at all.
No, even in the reprint, it's hard to tell.
Yeah, but at least it has that definition that you're talking about. Like it's a darker part on his boot,
Yeah, you can see the foot kind of.
Yeah, and that makes your brain go into it after seeing the feet on the other two. But this is just like pink, and it's just poor. I think it's poor printing. Maybe the coloring wasn't that bad, but it was a poor, like the printing.
It could have been, yeah. Or they had to cut like costs somewhere because it was still like an independent book, right, in the 80s.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I would assume so. But dude, this is where it happens. The villain is calling his victory, and it'd been years since he's ever had to like, just be free and do all this, and he ends up declaring he's just like Now I'm going to finish him off. Me, his adoring junior protege. Me, Kid Miracle Man. And then bam, because Miracle Man, when he says Miracle Man, that's what turns Johnny Bates into young Miracle Man. And so, and fucking turns into
a kid.
Yeah, I love how Miracle Man's like, now's my chance. I have to go up and I have to kill him now. And then he sees him and he's just like, oh, sweet Jesus.
Like, oh my God, he's a small child still.
He's so beat up and like just destroyed. Man, that is wild. And then his wife is there again. Way to just slide her back into what was going on.
Yeah, she like somehow she survived all that.
Yeah, yeah, like, yeah. Okay, that car crash and all that. Sure. But then they call in the man with the sapphire teeth. Oh, and this page is the one I was talking about where they reveal being like, oh, they called the people that originally dropped that bomb. But now we go into, you know what? Fuck it. Maybe Shazam referenced Miracle Man. Remember the Shazam movie where he's like testing the powers of the checklist and said that he read a bunch of comics to like gather information? And that's exactly in here, chapter 7. Actually, there's nothing changed here other than book 1, chapter 7 taken out. So that's kind of cool.
That's true.
But so Michael Moran has not been Miracle Man for 2 months now since the fight, and him and his wife are going out to the middle of nowhere to see what powers he has. And she read a bunch of comics and made a checklist to see what what powers he might have. And she's like, okay, I made a list. Check off. Let's see what you could do. You can fly. Yes. You're very strong and nearly invulnerable. That's right. Liz, I feel stupid. Shush. You said you can't see through the walls. So do you have super breath? Super breath?
He's like, super breath.
And so they're just testing stuff out. And that's literally what they do in the Shazam movie, which is kind of funny too.
Yeah, that's true, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we would have to read like Shazam or like back then, right? To see if they did something similar. Probably not, but there's a good chance, I could see like Miracle Man doing that first.
Yeah, right. Okay, dude, this is interesting. This was either an added page or
the one with Kid Miracle Man?
Yeah, no, or maybe the scan is wrong. Let me double check. Real fast. No, the scan is wrong. There's a whole page missing. It's this one. It might just be out of order.
Could be,
but, yeah, but we'll get back to it if it pops up. It's literally just like Kid Miracle Man fighting with, young Miracle Man fighting with Billy Bates in his head because he's he's just fucking zoned out. He's traumatized now at this point.
I was gonna say this reminded me of the Sentry kind of, like the whole like consciousness living within his head kind of thing. You know how like the Sentry has like two consciousness or something like that. It's been a while since I read a Sentry book.
I've never read it, but I remember hearing about it in an Avengers story.
It's a Jeff Lemire book. So
nice. Yeah, there you go. I gotta check that out then. But yeah, I could totally see that. And it's Johnny Bates just being like, I want to go home. I didn't do anything. Like I don't kill people. That's you. Like you that's all you.
Yeah.
And he's talking to young Miracle Man, and young Miracle Man's just like, I'm sick of you. Like, this is why you're fucking. He's like, you snotty little virgin.
Yeah, I was gonna say, why does he call him a snotty virgin when he's a kid?
He's like 13, dude. Like,
I know. I was like, what the hell?
Or some shit. Like,
again, Alan Moore with this weird sexual writing.
Sexual writing, dude. Yeah, yeah. Okay, now we're back on track. All right, so this makes sense now. They were just testing the powers and everything. Well, what is oh wait, let me see my Mac.
Him just showing off how he's invulnerable and strong and
whoops. I don't know what just happened to my Zoom thing.
Oh.
But yeah, and also, dude, this like assassin guy that we have going on here as well.
Yeah, with the sapphire teeth.
Yeah. Green. Let's get this going. Sorry about that hiccup. There we go. Cool. Yeah, so he makes his way into the hospital, and he's kind of just, I guess he has like a free pass to get past everyone, and everyone's noticing his teeth, and it's like drawing everyone's attention towards them. And this is the fucked up part. So we're back to Michael, and this is where the drama is kind of developing, and this is where it's like strays away and starts to kind of get more humane and everything within the book. Because you know, what kind of issues can like a man that's like super fucking invincible have at this point? Also, they noticed when he transforms back and forth that his wounds were still healing from the fight 2 months ago when he went back to MiracleMan, but also they're healing faster than any, you know, normal person. And also his suit had repaired itself from one blast to another as well. So it's like a self-repairing suit somehow, as you know, on top of everything. And you know, he's back to being Michael Moran, and they're getting ready to drive off, and they're just trying to figure out like maybe you're two different people, like in two, you know, one body, and the word is what like transfers you from, you know, actual time to real time to like whatever other time. And then she's also like, you know, Mike, I haven't had my period in 2 months, and I'm gonna have a baby, and it's not yours, it's MiracleMan's. And then he's like, it's a panel pause, and he's like, what did you just say?
Yeah, and that's when you kind of just realize like Michael Moran isn't MiracleMan. It's Michael Moran and MiracleMan are two separate entities sharing the same body and consciousness, kind of thing.
Does that sound like a certain character to you that he also revised and redid? That was brilliant. He does the same thing with Swamp Thing, dude.
Oh, yeah, no, he does the same thing with Swamp Thing, because it's the consciousness of like the green mixed with Alec Holland's like memories or whatever.
Yeah, it's like not Alex Holland as a it's no longer Alec Holland. It's the plant that absorbed it, like the consciousness or something.
It's like the plant matter and thinks it's Alec Holland, but really it's not Alec Holland. It's just like a clone consciousness of Alec Holland,
which is like upsetting because like the Bernie Wrightson one, and this is a quick tangent, but when you look at the Bernie Wrightson drawings of Swamp Thing, you'll always notice he has only one ear. And that's because it's still Alec Holland, because when he was in the fire, the blast that made him dive into the swamp, he was on fire and it burned that part of his ear off. So that's why Swamp Thing has one ear all the time because of that, because it's still fucking Alec Holland. And when Alan Moore stripped that away, that like discontinued that aspect of him. And that really, I mean, of course, the whole point was to take away the humanity.
Yeah.
But like literally, it took away the humanity out of it, and that was a Bernie Wrightson detail, which was fucking brilliant. You know,
realize that it's probably something a lot of people don't know.
I think so, right? Yeah, it's one of those cool facts that I know how to pull out, like in a good situation. Swamp Thing facts, you know,
random Swamp Thing knowledge from MiracleMan book.
It's in the data banks, you know. So this guy with the sapphire teeth, he's hunting down who MiracleMan is. Who is this person? Who transformed into this? And he knows the incident. He goes and tracks down the hospital where the survivors are at, and one of them had flash burns. So he goes up to this person, and this person can't hear, but he's writing a thing, and he's just like gets information, and he fucking kills him, and it's just brutal. It's a very 1970s vibe, I feel like. And this page is like, man, when he's flying in space, that's where it really gets that poetic Alan Moore. Because I don't know if there's another comic that really describes what it's like to be a superhero flying, you know? Like a kite that has lost its war with the wind, I hang crucified upon the sky, suspended between the soil and the stars, between heaven and earth, between the angels and the apes. There is no one like me. I'm MiracleMan. Gravity is a sullen giant who snatches the irritability at my heels. Dude, it's just fucking beautiful. Like, how do you even... And like how the movements he's going through while he's flying in the air and going through the clouds. Like, I can't think of a superhero book that would have done this this story in the 70s
and
or
also
80s.
Be, not to hate on books in the 80s or 70s, but to be written that well.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah,
sure. I've always been very vocal about how it's really hard to read a lot of books from that era just because the way they were written was just too, it's not like a bad thing, but it was just really campy and just didn't, read well, especially like when you look back at it. And then this is something that actually holds up, and you could read it and it doesn't feel like super cheesy as like other books from the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. It has like literature to it, like it's one of those books. It's like if you want like kind of advanced reading for a comic, MiracleMan was fucking right there for it.
Yeah. And it ends on a positive note for chapter 7.
It does. That was the end of chapter 7. That was we're on the last chapter of this issue, chapter 8, and man, again, the recolorings just add some whites in the second panel that really bring out that second panel, because what's happening, he's transforming from MiracleMan to Michael Moran, and we don't really see that at all, like the mid transformation. So this is kind of a very interesting panel, and it's so drowned out in this original copy. I love that the recoloring just really makes it clear what's happening in this scene.
Yeah, it just basically it makes the blacks darker and the whites brighter to help with contrast.
Braun Courtney was the colorist for this issue. So Steve Oliff is the one that recolored everything.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And like honestly, the pinks and the purples have a novelty to them. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Like the greens, the pinks, the purples, but with the recoloring, it just like I don't know, like there's times where it doesn't work, but there's also times where it helps clean it up, like I said before, and makes it just make more sense, Like in that second big
Oh, go on. My fast.
No, I was just saying in that panel where he's transforming, that's supposed to be like a panel showing him transform, but it just looks more like a guy with 4 legs.
I never understood that panel until I reread it. Like I didn't get it.
Yeah, and then you look at the reprint and you're like, oh, it's a bright Flash. He's in the middle of transforming.
Yeah, you really can't tell it's a Flash at all in this original. You can see the lightning on the side, and that could have just been the colors at that point and the restrictions they had with printing. But it kind of kills it. So I'm glad the reprinting exists more than ever now, Like that's, and also like I've pointed out before, look at his jacket. It's red and orange.
Oh, and then blue in this one.
Yeah, it looks like MiracleMan's outfit, and it's the coloring and the reprint.
He's got the McDonald's colors in the back. Yeah, in the original.
What's the one from Whack Arnold's or whatever? Or
the Whack Arnold's from Chappelle Show.
What's the one from Coming to America?
Oh shit, I don't remember.
I remember. That's what I was thinking of too. Yeah.
No, I was thinking like just these McDonald's, this Ronald McDonald color scheme going on with the orange hair, bro.
Oh my gosh, that's true. Oh, that's terrible.
Yo, that's great.
This is the okay. So it's now been 2 months. We're 4 months. 2 months passed in the first, between chapter whatever 6 and 7. 2 more months have passed in 7 to 8, and he's just fucking pissed. His wife is pregnant with MiracleMan's baby, and he couldn't get her pregnant. They'd been trying for a while.
Yeah.
And it just never happened. And
it's like, you only love me for MiracleMan.
Yeah, straight up. Like, she's like, well, it's good D, it's fucking.
You ever thought of yelling it a couple times?
She's like, oh, if I turned into a miracle woman, wouldn't you, come on.
But no, I mean, it also, it does this thing too, where like, I feel like again, we got to consider how like comics were in the 80s, pre-Watchmen and Dark Knight Returns, where, I know comics like Fantastic Four and like Spider-Man depicted like real life dynamics between relationships and family issues, but this is just like a couple pages about a couple kind of having like, a tough moment in their lives together and having a very realistic conversation. That's one of those things that he's feeling insecure because of everything that's happened with like MiracleMan giving her a baby and not him, and it's pretty human reaction.
Yeah, 100%. That's one of the best parts of the story is like Michael Moran's arc. Like it's not even MiracleMan's arc, but Michael Moran is the character and what he goes through.
Yeah, and it's like a very human reaction that she's trying to reassure him. Like it's a very healthy response. Like it's okay. Like she's still they're married, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, like she still like cares about their marriage and everything, and he's having again a human reaction, and he's like, I don't want to talk about it. I could see a guy being like, oh god damn it, like I gotta go.
Yeah, this whole entire scene of just like, I couldn't give you a baby, but one night with him, and oh Christ, Liz, he's just so much better than I am at everything. Like, it's he doesn't know his identity is lost at this point. And
well,
I love seeing the spoilers to a 30-year-old comic, but the farewell to Michael Moran, you know what I mean? That whole arc he goes through this is a pinnacle moment on what kind of kickstarts some of that, and him feeling like what's in futile to like MiracleMan, you know what I mean? Like MiracleMan inferior, yeah, to MiracleMan and what he can do, even like not only on a physical and ability level, but like with his own fucking wife, you know, like on a personal and emotional level.
Well, they don't say it explicitly, but he probably feels like he got cucked by like MiracleMan, right?
Yeah.
Like MiracleMan slept with his wife, even though it was like still him, and he still feels like they're two different people.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
When it's just like, no. It's shitty. It sucks for him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I get it.
So he's also it's now been narrowed down. Like this guy with the sapphire teeth knows that it's Michael Moran. That's MiracleMan. He's narrowed it down to him. And so he's following him around. And Michael Moran's, he's going to the Daily Record, not the Daily Bugle, which is what's referenced in MiracleMan previously. I guess this is just another newspaper because he's a freelancer. He's not going to the same place all the time. So he's going to the Daily Record to get some work. And, he meets with the editor and shit. And he's like, go give it a week. I'll have some work for you. Goes back in the elevator, gets handed a baby, and this guy, Mr. Mordan, and then he's like,
okay, let me just say one thing real quick. If a random lady came up to me in a elevator and said, "Carry my baby," I'd be like, "What the fuck? Get away from me!"
Like, you gotta get something out of your purse, but come on, girl. Like,
yeah, no, I don't want. That's just a personal note. I don't want that shit near me. What the hell? I ain't carrying some random person's baby.
And why would you trust someone to carry your baby?
Like, yeah, that's the other thing too. Oh God, I gotta get something out of my pocket. Here, can you hold my child?
Yeah, so that's on you, Michael, for fucking falling for that shit. I don't even feel bad. But this is a good thing. Like, this is a really interesting trick where he's like, are you going to change to MiracleMan without roasting the innocent little baby the way you roasted that terrorist? And then, bam, fucker gets shot up. I love the fade out, too. The messy, disgusting baby right there. And then the teeth in the background shining, and it's just the baby looks more evil. And then blackness. And then to be continued. Oh. This is what I was talking about. This is this thing that Alan Moore wrote. I don't think you have this at all. I doubt it, because this is straight up Alan Moore's words and shit, and I don't think they could put that in any of these reprints. But essentially, this whole little essay he does is basically what we talked about last episode, which was really interesting. Kind of how he discovered MiracleMan, and how in the beginning there was just Superman, and then they made, Captain Marvel, Shazam, and, the dispute that happened, the court case and the similarities between Captain Marvel and Shazam, and how that canceled Captain Marvel after whatever 24 issues. And then they wanted to reboot him in a different way and transferred it to an all-male cast in the UK, and started MarvelMan, because actually MarvelMan was even said that what we were saying in the last episode, that the creators of Mike Angelo and them were like, well, we always considered Captain Marvel to be more of a Marvel man, or some shit like that, and that's why they named him MarvelMan at that point. And then it went on, and Alan Moore discovered it at a certain point and noticed that it'd been years since it had been published again, so he thought that it didn't exist anymore, and how he got signed on by, they were like, if we could get the rights to this, would you like to do a story, blah, blah, blah. And then in March 1982, Warriors premiere issue had, MarvelMan issue 1. And then they had to go and figure out how to change it to MiracleMan and stuff like that. And the whole...
It needs to be messy.
It's been messy since the beginning, dude. Like,
this is just trying to figure
character.
it out. I've watched YouTube videos explaining the history of this character. It's ridiculous.
It's brutal, yeah. It's just past, and Mike Angelo, when they were making the original MiracleMan series, like, that was a whole legit thing, and it went on for just a handful of issues, before it fucking disappeared, and court cases happened, and It's funny. It's kind of funny because we're reading a character called MiracleMan, but he's not really called MiracleMan. He's called Marvel Man, and it's just
Yeah.
the name's wrong. Like we're reading a misprint practically, you know.
We're reading. He's never been called MiracleMan,
and
guys.
then like you think about like it's not even Alan Moore. It's the original author, credited in Marvel. And then you think about the court cases between Todd McFarlane and Neil Gaiman and this character. It's just what the fuck. Why is there so much history?
The amount of times the rights have bounced back and forth between like literally 10 people.
Yeah, it's
4 different publications. There's Todd McFarlane toy MiracleMan toys apparently.
Yeah, I have one of them. I have one of them. It was a Spawn MiracleMan San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. I got off of eBay or some shit. But check it out. Right here it says, while the presence of these talents certainly didn't hinder my childhood appreciation of the series, I'd be lying if I didn't admit that Marvel Man himself was very definitely the center of attraction. There was something about that Nordic crew cut and that striped and oddly military-looking blue uniform that held an indefinable fascination. Looking back with the benefit of hindsight, it strikes me that all of the existent super beings in comic books, Marvel Man was one who adhered most closely with the visual department to the idea of a blonde Aryan Superman as expounded by the Nazi Party of Germany during the 30s and 40s. Maybe it was this visual closeness to the dark archetype at the center of the Overman myth. Overman, that's the name we were thinking of the Overman myth that gave Marvel Man his edge. Although I don't doubt that the idea was very close to the forefront of the Marvel Man readers' minds back there in the late 50s, it certainly never occurred to me. Whew, that was a paragraph. But yeah, just saying how like what he was attracted to the outfit and how different it was versus other superheroes. It had that like, you know, kind of evil, sinister look to it in that those tights and everything. It didn't feel
it didn't feel like hopeful.
Yeah, exactly. And you really can't tell if he's like good or bad, and it's just it's different. It is a unique outfit. Yeah, it's a very unique outfit.
It's interesting too because like I said, a lot of this, you know, I haven't read a lot of the comic, but it gives off like Homelander vibes.
Yeah. 100%.
You know, and Homelander doesn't feel like a genuine superhero, obviously, right? But like when you look at the outfit too, they're both like the reds and blues and just the sinister, almost like, you know.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, 100%. Well, that's issue 2. I'm excited to like. This is all part of book 1, A Dream of Flying, too. So we're basically going to cover A Dream of Flying and then probably take a little break from MiracleMan for just a bit. And then we'll bounce back to it later in the year to like, we're going to finish it this year. You know,
we're going to work our way to the Silver Age.
And I'm going to be, you know, also continue reading on Komoda, the you know, kind of the history.
Companion-esque.
Yeah, the companion to it. It's a really interesting book. Maybe I could do a flip through at some point and post it up, but there's some cool stuff happening. Volume 2 was my personal favorite of this whole series because it has a lot of revelations on how MiracleMan came to be. So I'm excited.
To be honest, when it came to like what I liked the most, I actually liked the Neil Gaiman Golden Age book.
Oh yeah. Oh, out of the Alan Moore stuff, like that volume 2.
The Alan Moore stuff, yeah.
Damn, that Golden Age.
But yeah, I think overall, I actually kind of prefer the Neil Gaiman one.
It's an interesting perspective.
Yeah, it's like a whole different shift in tone and everything.
Everything, yeah. I know what you're talking about there. I can't wait to get to that.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, I don't know what my favorite is of the Alan Moore stuff. Like, it's been a while too. I'm rereading it right now, right? So
I've reread Volume 1 in the last few years more recently than I have 2 and 3 as well. I think I read 2 and 3 all together. And then Volume 1, you know, I tried to reread the whole series. I got interrupted. But all of this is still very kind of familiar to me at the moment. But that's issue 2. Nice deep dive. Good shit. And
the only thing I wanted to add is keep in mind, I was telling you this before the episode, but the one main thing I took from this is that this is definitely pre-Watchmen.
Mm-hmm.
This is pre-Dark Knight Returns. This is like what, 82?
Something. 82 is when it launched. So 82, 83.
This is just about when Daredevil was kind of rising as well, when it came to like mainstream, kind of like more mature comics.
Yeah.
So, the biggest thing I take away from this is that like this isn't like the first comic of that era to be like a more mature read, but it definitely predates a lot of stuff people give a lot more credit to.
Yeah. And I mean, MiracleMan's one of those things, like we were saying, it's more of a creator thing, because I feel like the creators, or comic almost historian people that really want to deep dive into history of comics and characters, that's where they finally read MiracleMan.
Yeah.
The ones that want to know something different that was in that time. And it's not a big group of people in the comic, because we're not talking about Avengers and Batman and shit like that, Brave and the Bold or anything, but like going to see what these other writers and creators were doing, like drifting away from the mainstream and finding the indie books of the Image comics of the 80s. You know what I mean? That's what we're looking at here, and that's the fun part.
Yeah. It's definitely like the niche market of readers that check out MiracleMan. Like, you're not about it unless like you really have, or not to say you're not about it, but usually you read MiracleMan when you kind of take comic reading a little bit more serious.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You've hit a new level, I feel like.
Yeah.
Kinda,
oh yeah.
It's like a lot of people hadn't read Sandman. You know what I mean? And then it's there's some of those books that are just like kind of I don't know, like your mantle. You hit an achievement once you discover and you get to do that.
You're like, oh wow, this exists?
Yeah, the mind blowing stuff, the stuff that strays you away, and then you fucking just blows your mind again what comics can do. But
100%.
We'll be back in a couple weeks with issue 3 before we get to some bonus MiracleMan stuff that's from the A1 books and things like that, and we'll give some history on the warp smiths and the confusing shit that no one really knows about.
The extra deep dive.
Yeah. Well, thanks for hanging, man.
Thanks for having me.